They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Was an excellent day for an exorcism.
It was pure evil.
All right, well, hey, welcome to episode number 1 of OKLA Bloodcast. I'm Brent. This is Kenny.
Hi, how's it going?
And we're going to get our wheels here today, so bear with us. Episode 1, we might just have to train wreck it and start over for all we know. I doubt it. I doubt that's the case, but
We'll see what happens anyway. So
yeah, man, glad to, I would say finally, but really we got to it pretty quick.
Yeah,
It was only 2 weeks ago, I think we came up with the idea.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, and I'm totally stoked, man, because this is right up my alley. You know?
Right.
So, yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, I've been wanting to do it for like a couple of years, really, ever since I started, that other podcast with my buddy Andy and everything. I kept telling him, I think a horror movie podcast would be really cool because I've looked for them. And I mean, I've found some, but I haven't found any that I'm super... Yeah, they don't excite me.
The thing that I just started listening to them, and, some of them are, like you look at the times and it's like, whoa, they were, and then you get on there and it's like, okay, the first hour, they're just...
Yeah. There's like a fine line, I think, of, trying to make it something that somebody can sit through and bang out all in one go.
Right.
But get into all the nitty gritty of what you want to talk about and everything. I mean, Joe Rogan has 3.5 hour podcast, but he's fucking Joe Rogan. He's the most popular podcaster. He's like top dog in the whole thing. So
right. Him and Eddie Trunk.
Yeah. I just think you can't quite like go into it thinking like, okay, nobody knows who the fuck we are and they're going to sign on for a 3.5 hour podcast.
Right. No.
So having said that, if this turns into a 3.5 hour podcast, we might have to turn episode 1 into part 1 of 1 and 2 of 1. I don't know. But so the topic we picked for today, which I'm not going to lie, today's like a big day anyhow because of the new Halloween movie.
Oh, yes.
And so I won't get too wrapped up in that because we probably could have just talked about Halloween and talked about how stoked we were to watch that. But that will be the post podcast recording event of the night for me. So I am chomping at the bit. I wish I wouldn't have even started talking about it because now I'm thinking about that. But the actual topic that we picked for this first episode seemed appropriate to me. Night of the Living Dead. Because the original, I mean, that's a classic. I mean, 1968, right?
Yeah.
So dates way back.
Yeah. It's actually, this came out 3 years and 7 days to the day before I was born.
Oh, yeah. He did the math.
Yeah.
I didn't get that deep into it, but that's pretty cool, though.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and I mean, I like zombie movies. I mean, we're here doing a horror podcast, so I'm pretty certain you probably do too. And this is like the creation of the dawn of
the zombie era.
Yeah.
And, the thing is, there was zombie films before this, but they weren't the zombies we know them as today. They were more like a voodoo spell,
right?
Where they
people
they
in
were
a trance. Kind
of.
Exactly.
Those were considered zombies, and I believe that's why they didn't call them zombies in this.
Right.
They called them ghouls or whatever. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fun one because, I mean, both the original and the remake, they're just go-tos for me around Halloween time. Like, I always end up revisiting one, if not both. Right. I think last year, like Halloween, night before Halloween, sometime right around Halloween, I watched the original, and I don't think... I think until the other day when I watched it again for the sake of this episode, I hadn't watched the remake in a couple of years.
Right.
And I don't know why, because I love it, but it's just one of those things where for some reason I hadn't gone back and watched it in a while. And I fortunately, if you want to call it that, was feeling ill one day at work and said, fuck it, went home after a couple hours.
Right.
And so I laid on the couch and watched both of them back to back. I was like, I got nothing better to do today. I got to watch them anyhow.
Just laying around. Here we go.
Yeah. So I was like, fuck it. Cool. So I was actually excited to be sick. It's a really fucking weird thing, but I didn't ever throw up or anything. So it wasn't even that bad. I just felt like I was coming down with a fever. So I thought, I feel like shit. I probably shouldn't be here at work.
Right.
See you guys.
Pass it around.
Yeah. I wish I wouldn't have gone in at all. I could have banged out like a whole other movie in those first few hours. But yeah, man, there's obviously this movie has a lot of history and everything. And it's, known as being, the first film to cast a black guy as like the hero. Yeah. When the script, didn't even call the script itself.
He was a trucker
intended for a white guy.
Yeah, it was when he like a crusty trucker or something, rough around the edges guy, language and stuff. So I think that's how he was portrayed. Yeah. And then of course Dwayne Jones got,
Yeah, he comes in and nails the audition.
Yeah. Actually, in the research I did for this, I found out that Dwayne Jones, he went off script. He did not. He changed the script all the time, to his own liking, because he wanted him to be portrayed as a certain type of guy. You know what I mean? And it was genius. You know what I mean? It really was. Yeah, and I mean, wasn't he? I don't want to jumble up my facts here or anything, but I know he was a teacher. Yeah, I want to say he was a. I don't know. He's a professor at some university. I want to say he was also like a theater teacher, ran like the theater department maybe at the university that he taught at. I can't really remember. I would have taken more thorough notes, but that's what Wikipedia is. This ain't much of a podcast if we just sit here and read Wikipedia word for word, But. Exactly. Well, and I don't trust anything on Wikipedia, honestly, because you can go in and type whatever you want. That's true. That's true. But yeah, so this was a low budget film. I think the original budget was like $114,000 is what I read. Yeah. And it grossed like $12 million in the U.S. and $18 million internationally. So it actually grossed 250 times its budget. Well, that's the crazy thing about this. I think they shot it, and I could be wrong on the number, but I think it was over 13 months. Because what they would do is they would do one scene or get like one section of film done, and they'd run out of money. So they would have to go find financiers. So they would show them what they've done, then they'd find a new financier to back them, and then they'd shoot what they could till they ran out of money. Then they'd be off for a couple months, trying to find financiers for the rest of it. And so I think it took like 13 months to shoot. Wow. Yeah, that's crazy, but it makes sense for its time and for just, a bunch of nobodies making a movie. That's usually how it worked, and Did you know that Romero worked on, I don't know what his actual title was, but he worked on Captain Kangaroo. Oh, yeah? Yeah. I don't think I did know that. I know that he did didn't he do recruiting videos or something for the Army, or I think so. Something like that is how he got his start filming. Yeah. And the original intention, George had actually, the character, I don't remember. I used to watch Captain Kangaroo as a kid, but I don't remember this character, but it was Lady Aberline. Okay. And that's who he originally wanted to play Barbara. Oh, yeah. I did read something about that or heard it somewhere. And the Captain Kangaroo staff was like, nope, ain't happening. Oh, it was, no, wasn't it the Mr. Rogers? It was I thought I read that it was the chick on Mr. Rogers. Oh, it might have been. And Mr. Rogers was like, nope. Yeah, because he really kept like a tight leash on, the purity and integrity of his show and everything, and he didn't want a cast member from that being associated with a horror film. A Living Dead film. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, dude, so this obviously, like, it spawned all the sequels and stuff that was great. I mean, you know, you got Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Land of the Dead, and then even Diary of the Dead and Survival of the Dead, which were kind of the two lesser-known ones that came out. You know, I remember I didn't mind Diary of the Dead so much, but Survival of the Dead, I don't know. Neither one of them excited me. I thought Land of the Dead was the shit.
You know, the thing when Land of the Dead came out, and you know, all the horror people was like, you know, because you know they really showed that they was like thinking like they could use tools and stuff like that. But if you go all the way back to the original, you remember when Barbara's in the car, that zombie picks up a rock and starts beating on the window.
Yeah.
So they was doing it all the way back then. People bitching about it, you know, and it's like...
Well, Bub.
Bub,
Day of the Dead was, you know...
Oh, I absolutely love Day of the Dead.
Yeah. I think most people revere that as the best out of the whole series.
Yeah,
you know?
That was a great one.
And I actually... So let's see, there's a bunch of other stuff coming out. It's really freaking bizarre, dude, because there's like a Day of the Dead series. I know there was like some shitty remake movie. I never watched it because I heard it was so fucking terrible. Although I suppose for the sake of this podcast and being thorough at some point, maybe we'll have to watch it. But I've heard it was just brutal to even watch. But then there's like a series that I just heard an interview with a guy who directed it. I think it's on maybe like USA or TNT. I don't even know. I don't have cable. So
Neither do I.
I watch
got
shit
like
online.
internet TV, you know.
So I'm kind of to the point to where I can't keep up with what these channels are doing and shit. But I guess there's like a series that started, this Day of the Dead, I think is just what it was called. And it's all within, you know, that universe kind of.
Right.
And then I saw something else where they're doing a Night of the Living Dead 2.
A Night of the Living Dead 2. I haven't heard this.
I just read this and saw they released some trailer. It was so cheap looking. It almost looked like, okay, is this like
Did it look like a
parody
Sci-Fi
or...
Network movie?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, the trailer was like, all it was like 3 cast members from Day of the Dead. Like now, like old, like the actual actors that played them.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't really remember any of the names. The actors' names or anything, so I'm not going to try to butcher those facts. But
you know, I have not seen The Survival of the Dead. I actually gave up after Land of the Dead, and not that Land of the Dead was that was actually a really cool movie.
Yeah.
You know, John Leguizamo and
I thought it was great, dude.
Yeah, it was, but I think
Dennis Hopper, wasn't he like the big
dude or whatever, like controlled the island or whatever, you know, and you know it didn't do a lot for me. It was good. I'm not bitching about it. It was good and it held my attention, but it just wasn't. It wasn't Day of the Dead. It wasn't the original Night of the Living Dead. You know, I mean, it just Dawn of the Dead was. It was cool. You know, but it's.
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
where
my
gave up on
expectations were low, so I ended up loving it. I guess if my expectations were high, maybe it would have let me down, but. I don't know. It was just a pleasant surprise for me.
Nice. I'll have to check it out.
But yeah, Diary and Survival,
yeah,
I could take or leave them. I think Diary of the Dead, that one was like a found footage thing.
Yeah,
like
wasn't it in England or something like that?
Maybe. I watched it once and I really wasn't.
Yeah, I actually seen, and it's they was at like a farm community thing or something. Right. You know, I think but.
Yeah, I mean, Survival, maybe I wasn't in the right mood, but it was almost unwatchable, I felt. I don't even know if I finished it. Or I might have just started drinking more and fell asleep or something. I don't know. But, you know, I thought, you know, the other interesting thing was the fact that, like, Night of the Living Dead and that whole franchise kind of spawned the Return of the Living Dead movies, too, which a lot of people thought were, like, sequels, but they were almost...
Well, and I think weren't some of those written by Russo. I think Return of the Living Dead was actually a Russo story. You know, John Russo, and then you know, they had that whole big thing with the copyright and all that, and you know, Russo and Romero kind of split up. You know, and they were kind of enemies, I think, for a while. I'm not sure on this, but you know, they and I believe Russo came up with Return of the Living Dead as a sequel to the original Night of the Living Dead. But then it just, people got a hold of it and turned it into, and great. I love the franchise. I do, except for the two shitty fucking sci-fi ones.
See, I never saw those. I saw the first two.
4 and 5, man,
I actually never saw the third. I don't think I've seen the third one. Maybe I have, and I don't remember.
Third one is my favorite.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Maybe I'll have to check it out. And it might be one of those things I might start watching and go, oh yeah, fuck, I did see this. But the first two, I've seen them several times. The first one I love. I mean,
yeah,
I think it's like the perfect, like, I guess to get to actually what we were talking about, the remake of Night of the Living Dead I really like, but I feel like in a lot of ways Return of the Living Dead already kind of did what they were going for in that one, and better.
Yeah.
It was more campy and fun.
Yeah.
And I do really like the remake of Night of the Living Dead. I feel like in a lot of ways it has more rewatch value than the original.
Well, and, the actress who played Barbara in that, she, she played it a lot different. It pretty much, it follows the story pretty much spot on, for the most part. But if you notice and I noticed this when I was watching it, and, she kind of plays the classic Barbara all the way up until, there's a point in the film where I think her dress is torn or something like that.
Yeah.
And she puts pants on. And then all of a sudden, it's like she modernizes to a modern,
She becomes like Ripley from
Alien, and she's like, she's not a badass, but she ain't putting up with shit either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like the scene where she's shooting that like weird alien looking zombie, and then she's like,
right.
Is he dead? Is he dead? She just keeps shooting him, and then finally right in the fucking head and takes him out,
Right.
Yeah, dude, that's how I liked it, because the original Barbara is almost fucking just annoying.
Oh, dude.
Like, she's so annoying that when he punches her and knocks her ass out just to shut her the fuck up, you're like, not even shocked. You're not like, oh my God, he just hit a woman.
I saw that coming.
You're just like, about time somebody shut that bitch up.
Yeah, the actress, that's, and it worked. When it came out, that at the time, that was, probably, I don't know, that's 3 years, 7 days before my time. So, times were a lot different back then.
She was so annoying that a black man in 1968 could get away with punching a woman.
Right. And not get lynched.
Yeah. Everybody's just like, yeah, that's cool. Well, he kind of did at the end of the movie, but they didn't know.
Right.
The mob that came and shot him.
Yeah.
Which, dude, it's funny because rewatching that, which I guess now I'm just jumping to the end of the movie, so I probably should have tried to follow some order here, but that scene is so just out of nowhere. Like, why did they just randomly shoot him?
Actually, believe it or not, that was his idea. Dwayne Jones, that was his idea.
Yeah.
He said that the black audience would rather him die that way than I don't remember exactly what it was, but and that was his choice. He wanted to die that way, And the guy who actually shot him, one of the mob or whatever, that guy didn't even know that he was the one who shot him until he saw the film.
Yeah,
and he went to the film, and there was like a bunch of kids because at that time they didn't have ratings.
Yeah.
You know what
Kids
I mean?
were just going and seeing this on a
and
matinee.
then, and they're like, and he's sitting there, and then all of a sudden, he's like, oh, he goes, they just told me to point a gun and shoot it, He goes, there wasn't nothing there, and he was, and then he hid and waited till after the film was out, and then snuck out, because he didn't want to get lynched.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. That was a crazy ending, in such a subtle way, I guess, and with that low of a budget.
Honestly, I
Black and
prefer
white,
I prefer the remake ending.
Oh yeah.
It's so much more fitting.
Yeah.
And
it sets up Dawn of the Dead, which obviously already came out at that time.
Right.
It sets up that whole world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I thought that was really brilliant how they did that. But when they did the original, they probably didn't. George probably had no idea he was going to make all those sequels, you know?
Right,
It was
right.
just like,
Well,
hey, I got this
was
crazy
lucky to
fucking
get
idea.
it made.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I guess oh, no, I got to backtrack. Before we actually start talking about, just these movies, there was one thing I meant to bring up, too. I did read that the final Romero film, Twilight of the Dead, that he was working on before he died, I guess that his widow is working with some writers to bring that to fruition. So
I thought I read something about that.
A couple of the original, like one of the original writers that he was working with on the original screenplay, and then I think 2 others.
Okay, all right.
Are coming in, working with her to actually develop this and get it made. So hopefully it just redeems the franchise and is better than the last 2 and doesn't,
You can only hope.
Yeah.
You know,
it's either going to be a giant piece of shit, or it'll be cool, or for some reason it'll be like some big Hollywood production, and it'll be like World War Z, and it will not be fucking cool.
Yeah.
Although I kind of dug that movie, but I don't want
I liked,
film to be
I
like
liked
that.
World War Z. I thought it was man, those zombies were scary.
Right.
I mean, running, like, just making a mountain out of themselves to
Although
get
if
over
you ask
walls.
George, zombies don't run, so they're not zombies.
Right.
I did read that quote somewhere. I think it was quite a while ago, but I remember hearing him say that, like, those aren't zombies. Zombies don't run.
Right.
Real zombies don't run. I mean, the guy is the godfather of the zombie. Like, you going to really argue with him?
But, the thing is, though, like zombies, and you saw I Am Legend.
Yeah.
Of course, the Will Smith, version. And of course, there was the Charlton Heston version way back.
Omega Man.
Yeah, Omega Man. But he, Romero was influenced by
I Am
that.
Legend.
Yeah, I Am Legend, the original book,
yeah.
and that's what kind of spawned this, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a crazy history if you think about it, because it just it's almost like it came full circle. But then, like, I don't know, the Will Smith movie was okay, but
honestly, Omega Man, because I'd seen I Am Legend first, and I went back to watch Omega Man, and I'm like,
Poor miserable bastards.
it's just to me it's hard to watch.
it's dated.
It's very dated.
You got to watch it with like a nostalgic kind of mindset,
Right.
I mean, sometimes, like with me, I think Charlton Heston, just because I grew up watching Planet of the Apes and shit, like,
oh yeah,
there's like this weird thing where I could watch his old movies, and it's just like the kid in me that grew up watching that shit still thinks it's cool. Whereas if I was introduced to it now, probably not.
Yeah.
Kind of like Clint Eastwood, like the old original, like Hang 'em High and the Man with No Name trilogy and shit. Like, I grew up watching that stuff.
Yeah.
So I go back and watch any of that old Clint Eastwood, and
I remember being in the theaters and watching all the Dirty Harrys and all that. I was never, growing up, I was never a Western guy, we had so many theaters. My mom ran all the movie theaters. So, I'm going to go over here and watch Raiders of the Lost Ark, or, I mean, they're, so, but I got to see them all. It's crazy. But, I do Clint Eastwood back in the day, man. He was a badass, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, like, he's put out some great movies in his older age. He's put out some duds, but I will always watch everything that dude puts out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just because I grew up watching Dirty Harry, and I grew up watching, the Bad,
Every
the
Which
Ugly,
Way But Loose, and
yeah.
Any Which Way But Loose. Those movies are classics, man.
Yeah. Even since this is a horror podcast and we totally went off the rails, but the closest thing to a horror movie that he did, Play Misty for Me. Have you ever seen that one? It was
I've only caught bits and pieces of it.
It was basically Fatal Attraction.
Right.
Probably 10 years before Fatal Attraction came out. Not quite, but yeah, I mean, I saw that movie pretty young even. I mean, so yeah, big Clint Eastwood guy, but I guess that doesn't have a whole hell of a lot to do with horror
movies, man.
But yeah, somehow we went off the rails a little bit, but that's par for the course with me. So yeah, I guess starting at the intro, obviously the classic, "They're coming for you, Barbara." Like,
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
I don't know, dude. Like, that's like just burned into everybody's brain.
It's burned.
I think.
Yeah. Well,
But,
I mean, that's, you just hear it all the time,
Right.
everywhere you go, I'm coming to get you, Barbara.
Yeah.
Well, they even, in Shaun of the Dead, they even referenced that when, what's the heavy dude?
I've seen it once,
And
dude. Believe it or not, I wasn't a fan.
Because Sean's like, call my mom. So he calls her and he's like, we're coming to get you, Barbara.
I don't remember it, but I know. That was like the movie that everybody told me you have to watch. You're going to love it. And then I was like, I guess I'm not big on the like British dry humor or something. And so
some British stuff, man, is hard to watch. I mean, some of it is. And some of it's great. I
thought I'd love that movie, and I didn't. And I think I even tried watching it a second time and shut it off. But, it is what it is. But, yeah, dude, the intro to the remake, I thought it was really brilliant because they sped it up so much by, that whole conversation in the car.
Yeah.
Prior, leading up to getting to the cemetery.
Right.
They just, took care of that, all during the opening credits. Yeah. And then as soon as the credits are done and all that bullshit and the movie starts, you're in the cemetery and it goes right to, oh, hey. And then they kind of shock you. You think that that's the zombie and it's funny because I didn't really think about this until I watched it this last time. But, in the original Night of the Living Dead, you've got the zombies just look like people. That can't fucking walk straight.
Right.
Slobbering on themselves.
Right.
Kind of unassuming. And so this guy comes walking up and it's almost like, oh, he looks like a zombie because he just looks like a regular dude, but he's kind of,
Yeah.
all out of it and whatever.
Bleeding on the head and stuff.
Yeah, so you're like, yeah, okay. Well, then it's like, no, that's not the zombie. That's just some guy running from the fucking zombie that's back there that then looks like, a Tom Savini fucking makeup.
Well, of course,
Yeah. So it totally jumps to, you almost think from the opening scene, oh, we're just going to get, the original George A. Romero zombies from the from the first film, Night of the Living Dead. And then it's like, oh, psych, never mind, you're getting these fucking crusty motherfuckers coming at you. And it just turns into more fun of a movie, right out the gate, because all that sped up, you're right into the shit right away. Yeah. There's a quick surprise that throws you off right away, nope, it's not going to be the exact same.
But it is, but it isn't.
Yeah.
I mean, when they added some things, and just from being into film and watching stuff, they had some different viewpoints on the originals, and it was really cool. I mean, it's subtle, but a lot of people don't pick up on that, and that's just something that I think is really cool. The way that they visioned it, as, but they kept it the same,
Right.
So
yeah, I mean, it definitely pays tribute to the original by. It has some little nods and stuff throughout the film and stuff, but it takes on its whole own kind of character. I don't know. It's like a different vibe. I feel like the original's dark, and it's the quote unquote terror or whatever. The tension that you feel is almost comes more from how it's shot.
Yeah.
And a little bit more from the character development and everything. And
right.
Whereas the remake, it's a little bit more fun and a little bit more.
Well, it's cooler to look
loud.
At. Yeah, exactly. Well, it's a lot cooler to look at.
Right.
Me personally, I love special effects and all the prosthetic.
The master, and so
yeah,
and he could have this was his film, and he could have jerked off all over it a little bit more with that, and he didn't. Not as much as you think.
Right.
There's parts later in the film where it was like, there's the gratuitous fucking gore that he's throwing in there just to kind of
right.
But I thought that one thing that was funny, just talking about the intro, Bill Moseley, who obviously is this fucking horror icon, and I mean his Chop Top from fucking Texas Chainsaw Massacre too. I mean, is obviously one of my all-time favorite characters ever.
Hey, lick my plate, you dog.
And hence the reason that I guess we didn't really touch on that yet. But I'm sure anybody that's listening to this and saw the title, the OKLA Bloodcast thing, we obviously straight up stole the OKLA thing right out of the
Texas Chainsaw Massacre too.
OKLA Red River Radio or Red River Rock and Roll request. Yeah. So shamelessly, but I don't know. To me, it's wear the influence on your sleeve kind of thing, right?
Right.
So it made it fun. And I think, that kind of is like the mentality we're going into this podcast with too. Is just have fun and talk about
just talk
the
about
shit
horror
we dig.
movies.
So,
yeah.
but yeah, dude, I thought Bill Moseley as Johnny was hilarious because the thing I thought of while I was watching it this time, I thought, man, I never realized it before. But he looks like some asshole dressed up as Johnny for Halloween. He looks like if some guy went and bought like some cheese dick Johnny from Night of the Living Dead
Walmart special
costume and put it on, and that's what he looks like. He doesn't look like a real person.
Right.
It's
Dude, he's
fucking hilarious.
Yeah. It's he does do cool, but yeah, I do agree. He looked horrible. I mean, he looked totally fake. Like that's a wig he's got on his head. I met Bill Moseley actually, and dude, he's built like me. And if anybody knows me, I'm not a big guy. I'm a small guy. And I was standing right next to him. He's my height and built like me. I'm like, dude, you look way more badass in the movies.
Yeah. Like as Chop Top, he looked little, but dude. Like,
well, when he played Otis and Devil's
the Otis
Rejects,
shit, he looks tall. He looks intimidating.
Yeah,
as
but
fuck.
I think a lot of that's the zombie
shooting up all
low
the time,
angle, looking up at him. You know.
Yeah, dude, I love Bill Moseley, man. He's just so cool. I want to see that movie he's in now with Nicolas Cage. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head. But
I haven't heard of this one.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to check it out.
Yeah. I won't go off on another rant. This
we already got
sideways, but dude,
sidetracked again.
Yeah, I'll have to Google it when we're done talking about it. But yeah, and we talked about Barbara already. I mean, the remake, she just turns into like this tough fucking. I thought of it like Sigourney Weaver. Alien.
No, I totally see that.
Goes into taking no shit.
Yeah, and I think she even corrals them up like quite a few times.
Yeah.
In the remake, like she just snaps on them.
Yeah.
So no, she was way more badass.
And you got fucking Candyman as Ben.
Tony Todd.
Yeah.
I totally forgot. I can't believe when I went to watch that, and I seen him, and I'm like, oh, dude, it's Candyman.
Right.
How did I not remember that?
Yeah. Yeah, and there's that new Candyman movie, which I still haven't watched. But
Yeah, I got to watch that, too. Yeah. I liked Tony Todd in the Hatchet movies.
I'm trying to think. I've seen the first Hatchet.
He's the one who runs the voodoo tour thing or whatever.
Okay.
The tour boat thing that they all...
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the...
I guess I don't remember him being in it, but...
Yeah.
Huh. Wasn't Danielle Harris in one of those too?
She's in two of them, yeah, part 2 and 3.
Okay, I don't think I ever saw the third one.
Yeah.
But I did see the second one.
I got to meet Danielle Harris too. Man, that chick's like tiny.
Yeah.
Like tiny. And like she came walking with me, and the wife was standing there, and she came walking by us, and she had like 4-inch heels on.
Yeah.
And she like came up to here on me, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah. Well, I know she's always doing those conventions and shit, and I mean I saw something recently where they were trying, or somebody that's working on Halloween Ends, the next film, said that they really want to find a way to bring her back.
Incorporate her into it.
Which would be cool. I mean, because I've already seen some stuff for Halloween Kills where I wish they wouldn't have released it because it was like a month ago they released a lot of these characters that were coming back. I was like, why didn't you fucking surprise me with that shit?
Right.
Like, I didn't need to know all this other shit, so I'm not even going to talk about it. Because I don't want anyone listening to be like, oh, fuck, I didn't see that. Thanks for ruining it. But can't wait to watch that. I'm going to try to not talk about it anymore. So one thing I also noticed about the original was it was so funny because she's running from the cemetery after she crashes her car and everything. And she runs into the house and blah, blah, blah. And then it's like immediately it's dark. Did you notice that? It's almost like it's daylight and then it never...
There was no shift.
Yeah, it was just like all of a sudden
it goes from one scene, and it's actually after she meets Ben,
right?
And I forget what they're doing. Oh, she drags the farmer out in the rug.
Yeah,
drags out off the back porch, and then they go inside. And next thing you know, it's night. It's like
How the hell that happened? Yeah, with the remake, they were at least smarter about that. And there's like a whole bunch of daylight scenes outside of the house, and it's getting darker, and
Right.
you know,
Right.
so that was kind of, I don't know, silly maybe that I noticed that, but apparently you did too. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, that was pretty noticeable, but you know, a lot of people probably hadn't noticed that though.
Right.
You know, I mean.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how many times I watched it before I noticed it. I don't know that I noticed it until I was watching it this time and was actually watching it with an eye that was trying to pick up on shit that I wouldn't normally pick up on because we're going to sit here and talk about it for an hour or whatever, you know? So it was like, well, I got to look for shit. And I was just like taking notes as I was watching the movie. So that was kind of a different thing too, because normally I'm just sitting there drinking a beer while watching a movie. But one thing, so to compare kind of some of the scenes, you know, scene by scene, I thought one thing that I preferred in the original was the scene where, you know, Barbara gets to the house, she goes up the stairs, and she finds that body that's laying there.
Yeah, with like one eyeball.
Yeah, I thought for its time, and maybe because, like I said, I think I mentioned this before we started recording, but I've never seen the colorization of the original.
Right.
So I don't know if maybe it doesn't look as cool when it's in color, but I thought in black and white, the way that was shot, like that legit looked fucking creepy.
Well, you can see like the glistening, you know, from the light and everything on the blood and the mangled flesh and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, that was beautiful work for that time.
Oh yeah,
you know
like,
what
it was
I mean?
creepy and real. Like you didn't look at it and go, that looks fake. That looks hokey.
Right.
I mean,
It looks
that's bullshit.
gruesome.
Yeah. You know, and so I mean, the scene where obviously if you were like, I mean, I in 1990 I was fucking 9. Okay, so like I didn't see the remake until, you know, a few years later. I don't even remember when I first saw the remake, to be honest with you. But, you know, at 9 years old, I was getting into watching horror movies, but I wasn't seeing a lot of the shit right when it came out. But I imagine that, like, if you grew up on the original and then was watching the remake, like, you would probably appreciate the fact that they changed that, and it's like, oh, instead of her going up the stairs and finding that body, there's just this goofy-ass scene where this big fat zombie just goes walking over that ledge and almost lands on top of her, you know? Which was funny. It kind of instantly changed the mood of the movie. Like, you're like, okay, this isn't going to be like the subtle, dark, creepy, what's around
Stuff's
the next
going to
corner
jump out
kind of
at
thing.
you. Yeah.
There's going to be some shit worth laughing at, you know, even like, so.
Well, and I thought what was cool was the one zombie in the remake at the very top of the stairs had blown his own head off. And that it was old boy's cousin, the one that was downstairs with the Coopers.
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to think of his name. Billy? Was that the character's name?
I think so. I don't remember.
No, it was Tommy.
Yeah, and his girlfriend.
The one that shot the fucking gas pump. Oh, I don't have the right key. Here, I'll shoot the lock off the gas pump.
Dumb ass.
Yeah. It's like, dude, you can't ever watch that movie and not just go, what a fucking moron. How did this guy make it this far in this movie? Oh, man. So Cooper, I thought it was really kind of funny because he's kind of a prick in the original, but they really amplified it in the remake, man.
Yeah,
like,
you hated
he's
that guy.
Drinking stag beer. You can tell he beats his old lady at home.
Oh, well, he actually smacks her. And,
yeah,
you know. Actually, I believe both versions do, don't they?
Did they? I remember the remake doing that. Maybe I just
I don't
washed it all together in my head. Yeah, he was a prick either way.
Yeah.
I guess maybe with the original taking place in 1968, I just figured, I don't know, didn't everybody smack their wives back then? I don't know. Does it count? I don't.
See, I wasn't alive in 1968.
I have no idea either. Thank God. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely felt, I don't know, that whole. So it's a weird thing with the Coopers because I felt like I liked the remake. I liked the portrayal of Cooper because he was almost just an even bigger prick, and he was, you know, a little bit more of a villain within a, within the whole thing.
Well, there's the one scene in the remake where, what is it, Tommy? Is that his name? The zombies are busting in the window, and he's trying to hold the panel.
Oh
there.
yeah, and he's just cowering and trying to load
well,
the gun.
And he's like standing there at the basement door. He's like, "Hey, give me the hammer and the nails," you know. And he's like, "Oh, should I do this?" Or
Right.
It's like, why would you not? You know.
Yeah.
But he thinks the basement's the only safe spot. You know.
Right.
So.
Which, what the fuck are you gonna do if you're in the basement and they all get down there?
Yeah.
Duh. That's what they were trying to tell him the whole time. But then the ironic thing is, at the end of the goddamn movie, Ben locks himself in the basement and ends up
a zombie.
Yeah. It's like, you dumbass, you should have listened to yourself. Oh, well, what can you do? I think the one funny thing that popped out, too, was, you know, Barbara out of nowhere just kind of goes, "Hey, they're moving really slow. We could just run right past them." It's like...
Right. She's been a babbling idiot.
Yeah.
The whole fucking movie. And then all of a sudden she's like, "They move so slow.
Yeah.
We just run right past them." It's like, well, where's that mentality?
Yeah. Why didn't you think of that before there was like 50 of them? When there was like 4 or 5 of them scattered out there, you could have done that. Now you wait until like you're trying to fucking like lower your own odds. What the hell was that shit, you know? So yeah, that was kind of funny to me too. You know, because it's like, how did it take you that long? And then in the original, why did they not realize that? I mean,
right, yeah.
After a while, you're going to go, man, these motherfuckers can't run.
She says that in the original.
Does she?
Yeah.
I think that I should have probably not watched them back to back. I might have just...
Well, and yeah,
it might have became... The similarities might have became a wash to where I only remember the differences.
Yeah, as well, yeah. But no, I'm like almost 90% sure she says it in the original because she's staring out the window like through the boards or something. I think she's like, "They move so slow."
Yeah.
You know, but they don't. I think that's what prompts them to get the truck.
Yeah.
And go out and
right.
get the, you know.
Yeah. And yeah. And then Tommy shoots the lock.
Dumbass.
In the new one. Anyhow. Yeah, silliness. Silly bastard. Thank God it's just a movie. If somebody that dumb really existed. I'm just kidding. There's somebody.
Oh, there is.
I've known plenty of people that fit that fucking category. Here, go shoot the lock off that real quick. I'm going to go stand over here. But, yeah, man. So another thing that I was just thinking of, going back to the daughter in the basement and everything, I will say that even though I think the remake kind of makes more sense in the tradition of zombies and everything, the fact that the kid bites the mom and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I think really, though, the original, that scene was darker and creepier where she's stabbing her with the fucking the trowel thing, the garden trowel.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't really have this revelation before until I was watching them the other day and watching the remake, and I was like, well, I like that other scene way better. But I guess now, knowing what we know about zombies and shit, like, would a zombie just grab a garden trowel or any sharp object and start stabbing? They're going to... They bite. That's what they do. They're fucking zombies. But I guess at the same time, I mean, back in 1968, this film was inventing the zombie pretty much. So it's like...
They probably... It was like... It made sense at the time.
Yeah.
You know, and then it was like... Yeah, we're stuck with it now.
And then you notice in the remake where he first goes to the basement, when Ben first goes to the basement, and he looks over and there's the garden trowel hanging on the wall, and it's got like blood and shit on it. And I'm like, well, that's what when she bites her mom's neck, the blood sprays across the trowel hanging on the wall. Yeah, it's kind of like an homage to the hey, you know, we know this is different, but there you go. Here's your trowel. I mean that was pretty cool, but. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the strong suits for me with the original was just like that scene going up the stairs and the dead body, the way that it looked, in the dark and everything, and then that scene with the daughter stabbing the mother and everything, you know. But
well, you know, I assume he's the owner of the house that Barbara runs to. You know, even that zombie looked cool back then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You could tell they didn't have a lot for makeup, but...
Right.
You know, I mean, he was cool, you know?
Yeah. So. Yeah, there was cool. I don't really think there was... I'm trying to remember, but I don't remember there being any zombies. In the original, it was like, oh, that looks stupid.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I mean, because they kept it so simple that... I don't know. They couldn't really fuck it up. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Like there was much more room for error in the remake when you're doing all these special effects and stuff. You know, so
Right.
But I mean, they did it well. Obviously, I mean, Savini's not going to fuck that area up.
One thing that I really loved about the remake was the set, the house. I thought they kept it really close. I wanted to research it. I did not get to it, but I wanted to see if they actually like rebuilt the original house. Because I mean, even the back porch and everything looks exactly the same. You know what I mean?
Right.
I doubt that house is still, the original house is even still standing. You know?
Yeah, I don't know. That'd be something to look up.
But I was going to look up the Savini and, you know, the sets and see if it was just like a custom, like on a sound stage or something. Right. You know, so.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess maybe we should have looked that up. Didn't think about that, but, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, we'll learn as we go. You know, hey, it's episode 1, people. Get off our fucking backs.
We're learning here.
Yeah. No, man, I mean, you know, these were fun movies to revisit and everything, and, you know, I thought that the standoff at the end with Ben and Cooper was cool, and the twist at the end where I
loved it.
Where it's like, okay, Ben comes up, he's the zombie, and then the scene where Cooper walks in and she shoots him in the head.
Oh, you came back for us.
Boom. Yeah, that was great. She just passes it off like, yeah, there's one more there to clean up.
Yeah, one more for the fire.
Yeah. No big deal. No big deal. But yeah, man, there was one scene that I think I started to mention it before, but it was like the scene, I think, when she leaves the house, when Barbara leaves the house, okay? Uh-huh. And she's running and everything. And there was kind of just these couple little scenes there that was definitely like the gratuitous Savini scenes where the one zombie like digs the mouse up.
Oh yeah,
and he's like eating it, and then the one next to him's looking at him all jealous,
and
like
grabs it.
Yeah. And then there was something else. There was that, and then there was something immediately after it. Oh yeah, there was the zombie that was like the junkie that was walking with like the syringe hanging in his leg and shit.
Yeah. That was, and that was. I mean, Savini's going to do that. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, man.
Yeah, there was just cool shit that, you know, it was like, yeah, that showed that basically everyone that died was going to come back as a zombie, right? Because he died from a fucking overdose, but then came back as a zombie. So it wasn't like you had to be bit by a zombie.
Right.
If you died, you're coming back alive as a zombie. So I don't know, some weird little tidbit that I guess I thought of. I would say that if I had to pick a favorite, it's really hard because I would say that the original has definitely elements that are, you know, for its time, it was like miles above and ahead of anything that had come out. But
they didn't make shit off of it. I mean, it grossed so much money.
Yeah,
but there was the whole copyright fiasco.
Right.
I mean, it's public domain.
Yeah,
and it has been. Well, you know, it's because they was going to call it Night of the Flesh Eaters. It was originally titled Night of the Flesh Eaters. Yeah. Then there was a big lawsuit or something like that because there was a movie called The Flesh Eaters.
Oh, okay.
So they called it Night of the Living Dead, and I don't remember what the company was that distributed the film, but they released it, and they had no copyrights on it. So that movie's literally been public domain since 1968.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, yeah, it's you know, like when I met Romero, you know, he wouldn't. I had a Night of the Living Dead CD cover with me, you know, and he's like, I can't sign that. I'm like, what? And he goes, no, that's a ripoff. He goes, it's, you know, he can only do it like at certain ones, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I was like, well, dude, I got Creep Show. So he autographed my Creep Show DVD. So yeah. So I was.
Yeah, I mean, he's done a few other movies that I almost forget was him. You know, like Creep Show.
Right.
You know,
didn't he do Dead Time Stories?
I've heard that name, but you know, I don't know if I've ever seen that.
Right. I'm not sure if he did Dead Time Stories. I want to say he did, or that might have been Carpenter. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I tell you what, dude. It seemed like it was pretty seamless, so I don't think we're going to have to edit too much out of this.
Right.
We didn't derail the conversation too much to where I'm going to have to go in and snip out chunks. I think it was a good first episode, a good run, and
We didn't get into Halloween too much.
no, that just might have to be the next episode after we both watch the new movie, man.
Well, you're
So,
seeing it tonight. I'm seeing it tomorrow. So
Yeah.
I'm ready, man. I'm ready.
Absolutely. That
Chomping at the bit.
if I had to pick one as my favorite franchise, and I really don't even have to pick one. If I don't have to pick one, I'm still probably going to say it's Halloween.
Yeah. I've seen every one of them. They're even the original in the movie theater.
Yeah.
And dude, the original one scared the living shit out of me. I mean, it literally scared the living shit out of me.
Dude, that ending is fucking crazy. Like, I mean, we take it for granted now, maybe, but like, I was a little kid when I saw it, and I can still remember when I first saw it. I saw it on like a fucking 13-inch TV. And I can remember my uncle had like a fucking bonfire or some shit, and we were over there. And at the end of the night, I went inside and was just watching TV, and Halloween was on TV.
Right.
And I'm sitting there just glued to that thing, man, because I'm like, holy shit. You know, I always wanted to see this. And I'm like, fuck, I don't know, like 8 years old or something, maybe. And I just remember that ending blowing my mind, you know, the fact that it pans back and he's gone. It's like, what the fuck, you know? And I was like a fan ever since. It was like I remember renting them all and watching them all, and I can remember the big cliffhanger on part 5, and I couldn't wait for part 6. It was supposed to be part 666.
Yeah, yep.
And that whole thing happened where that didn't come out for like 2 or 3 years. It was held up, and
you have all these people that, you know, they bitch, oh, part 4 ruined it, or part 5, you know, that blew ass, or, you know, this. And you know what? Every time I saw one of these movies in the theater, I fucking loved it.
Yeah.
I didn't care. I was like, it's Michael Myers, man. He's doing his thing, man. Yeah. I didn't care. I'm like, man, that was the greatest movie ever, you know. And the next one comes out, and I'm like, yeah, that one was the greatest. Dude, I just love them. I don't care how bad they are.
Resurrection and Rob Zombie's second one are the only two I really just can't go back and rewatch.
Yeah. You know, those movies to me are Sunday afternoon movies. It's like 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You know, You've been doing chores all day. Like, take me a nap.
Yeah.
You pop one of them on, you know. And
you watch whatever you watch of it. If you go take a shit, you don't even pause it. You're
right.
Like, fuck it, man. Yeah, I mean, and it's weird because I remember the first time I watched Resurrection, and I really didn't hate it that much.
Yeah.
But then it had like no rewatch value. I watched it like a second time and was like, nah, this is fucking terrible. I don't know why I didn't hate it the first time.
That's with Busta Rhymes.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Actually, I've probably watched it at least 20 times.
Yeah.
And it's just like I said, I can pop a movie in.
Yeah.
And
some of them are just mindless movies.
Exactly.
You know?
It's just background noise. You know, I'll be working around the house. I'll just pop one on, have it on. You know,
the second Rob Zombie one, I couldn't get behind. That one was just fucking terrible, and I've tried to rewatch it, and it's like, no.
You know, I've heard that he wanted, you know, at the end of Halloween, he killed him off. That was his, you know, and then. The story I heard was they was like, no, you got to do a second one, you know, and he's like, I don't want to. And then somebody else was going to do it, and they was just going to fuck it up even worse, you know. So he's like, no, I'll do it.
Yeah.
But I think he's like, but fuck you, I'm going to do this fucked up version of it, you know. And it was okay. I don't know. I
think I would appreciate his first film, the first, remake. I think I would appreciate it more if nothing came after it. I think it almost just took a shit on it.
It just stood alone right there.
And I really, honestly, out of the remake, I love the second half of it. Even though it's almost like shot for shot, but more bloody. Not really shot for shot. You know what I mean? It's the same storyline.
Yeah.
The backstory I had the most problems with because I didn't want it explained. I didn't want to know... I want Michael Myers to be like this unexplainable evil.
Yeah.
Not a victim of his...
I actually like that just because, there was all the years before he killed his sister. So it's like, and in the original, you don't know. They never tell you, you know what I mean? It's like... It was cool just to see it kind of brought like a full all-round story, from beginning to end. That was kind of cool. I thought, personally...
I thought the stepdad character just needed to be not in it. it was too much. It was like,
Right.
it was nonsense, basically.
Well, it was
extra
another
noise
person to
that
kill,
didn't need
though.
Yeah.
I mean, it really was. It was just a body count.
He was such a prick. You wanted him to die. So
Yeah, and
were
you knew
almost
he was
cheering him
going to.
Yeah. But I don't know. Maybe it's one of those things where I'm too much of a purist with Halloween to where I didn't want, Rob Zombie has that signature ultra vulgar dialogue.
Just very rough. Yeah.
And I don't really care. I'll watch those movies. I love those movies. I love House of a Thousand Corpses, and Devil's Rejects is, great too. And I just, for some reason, when he brought it into Halloween, I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I can get behind this. I want him to do his own thing, but that part of it was a little bit much for me to where I was like, it bugged me the whole time,
Right.
So,
well, I will always cherish the original. I mean, that's just
still one of my all-time favorite films.
Absolutely. But it is one of my all-time favorite. I've got like 3 or 4 favorites. I mean, a lot of mine are the Friday.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, the first 4. I mean, those are just, to me, are just the perfect horror movies. Just the camp slash. I love Jason. I love Jason almost as much as Michael.
I love, those movies are great. All the way up through 6.
Yeah.
And really, I like 7 for
7,
what it is. People
telekinesis.
hate it a lot. That is a little cheesy, but I still enjoy it.
Well, honestly, I thought the Muppets took Manhattan better than Jason.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's probably my least favorite Jason film.
Yeah, X was, I don't know, I liked X. Even though... Dude, I don't know why, but I have this issue with sci-fi looking films.
Yeah.
It's like that, like the Return of the Living Dead's, the part 4 and 5. They were done by Sci-Fi Network.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, 4 and 5's coming out because I love, the Return of the Living Dead's. I'm like, motherfuckers, man. Ruin them, man,
right.
and they just got those cheesy, horrible graphics. And I'm like,
yeah. Well, we probably shouldn't get too much into Friday the 13th or Halloween on this episode.
Yeah, you're right.
Because then people got to come back for the Halloween and the Friday the 13th episode.
Right.
Well, we'll sign off by saying, thanks everyone for joining in and listening to the first episode. And hopefully there will be a second one. I think there should be.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
All right, man. A huge, huge thank you to everybody that listened to the very first episode of OKLA Bloodcast. If you are thinking about starting your own podcast, look no further than Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout made it so simple that even I managed to figure this out and put together my own podcast. Once you have all the gear you need to get started, Buzzsprout makes the rest of it super easy. Everything from getting you started on monetizing your podcast so you can make money, because who doesn't like to make a little bit of extra coin? And on top of that, the best part about Buzzsprout is you can get started and try it out for free. So head over to buzzsprout.com today and make your podcasting dreams come true.